check that out. And why don't you go ahead and start the recording, Benji? Got it?
Yep.
When you have a question, if you'd please use the Q&A function so that we can find those questions and deal with them a lot easier. We'll put links in the chat function so you can find those links and go and check those out. And today we're going to do the outdoor adventures, 4-H outdoor adventures, and we have Nicole back for a second session and her youth ambassador, Rosa. And Nicole, why don't you tell the group a little bit about you, and then you can introduce Rosa.
Great. Thank you, everyone. My name is Nicole Peterson, and I am an extension educator for the University of Minnesota Extension Center for Youth Development. We work really strongly with the 4-H programs across the state. I have two functions in my role. One is supervisor of 4-H staff, but the other one is the lead coordinator of the 4-H Outdoor Adventures program, and I'm coming to you from Southeast Minnesota. And I would like to introduce you to Rosa. Rosa is a senior and she is from Goodhue County, and she is one of our Minnesota and national 4-H shooting sports and wildlife ambassadors, which we learned a little bit about in the session last week. And so Rosa, would you give them a little bit more information about yourself?
Yeah, like Nicole said, I am a senior this year and I'm representing Minnesota 4-H in the shooting sports and wildlife programs. I've been in the program for roughly 8 years, kind of getting to know more about stuff, and I'm also an OWLS and doing different activities in the wildlife area. Something I really enjoy. And if you look at the picture, that is my trap gun that I use for trap in 4-H. So just a fun little fact.
So last week's presentation, which is recorded, we really focused on the shooting sports and wildlife component of the 4-H outdoor adventures. And this week we're really going to go through an overview of our entire program, the different components and opportunities and events that are available for youth across the state of Minnesota, and volunteer resources for you. So Rosa, please take it away.
Thank you, Nicole. So the main 6 components in Minnesota 4-H Outdoor Adventures are the shooting sports and wildlife, which was discussed in the last webinar, ATV safety, wildlife biology, hiking, fishing, and outdoor skills. And each of those will go into depth throughout today's episode. And then that's just kind of an overview what it looks like on our website, which you'll get a link for later. But we have the shooting sports and wildlife area, fishing, wildlife biology, ATV safety, hiking, and self-determined, which has all your different extra categories that you want to look into with the wildlife categories. And then on the website, if you click the links, it'll give you more information on where you can get in, like where you can get involved in the information, and then who to contact as well.
Our second largest program of the Minnesota 4-H Outdoor Adventures program is our ATV Safety. We work in conjunction with the Minnesota DNR, so that's a pretty proud moment for us to have a partner such as the DNR. We work together to provide safety leader certification, so our volunteers are dual trained not only in DNR ATV instructor, but as the 4-H youth development pieces that we incorporate within our program and our certifications. I have the year 2019 on here because, as everyone knows, attending or watching the recording, the last couple of years our in-person programming was pretty null and void, especially with the ATV piece. So in 2019 and this summer, we're ramping back up. We reached over 1,500 youth solely with touch points and programs within the ATV safety program. So we had static educational displays at county fairs. We worked with the National Wild Turkey Federation on some of their Jake's events and had our ATV trailer and display there. We also partner with some of the agricultural organizations across the state. When they do farm safety days, we also bring in the ATV component. Just in Fillmore and Houston, we were able to provide that to 450 fourth graders to be able to just talk a little bit about safety within ATV programs and their use. Many of them have at home. We also provide the DNR ATV certification for youth. Again, our leaders are that dual trained, so we're able to do that. And the one thing that our clubs are doing is really focusing on the trailer and machine maintenance, taking it almost a 2.0 curriculum. So youth are learning how to maintain those machines, work with our trailer, all of the components within that. Benji is going to put a little link on in the chat on one of our YouTube videos. Owen from Sherburne County completed his project area, and one of his things that he did was to produce this video on ATV safety, anywhere from helmet fit to gear to machine sizing. And so that video is on the public YouTube, and so we wanted to share that with you just to let you know a little bit more about how in Minnesota 4-H that the youth voice is prominent. They come together for a project, learning, and then on their own they come up with different projects, and he was able to share this, and we still share this with adults across the state. So a couple of our wildlife biology programs are our WEP and our OWLS. We are an organization that loves our acronyms. So WEP is the 4-H Wildlife Habitat Evaluation Program. We actually are having our state contest this Saturday in the Twin Cities. And this program teaches youth wildlife identification. So by picture, by observation, by song, maybe birds or the frogs, or by live specimens. They have a wildlife activity challenge where they're doing that identification. And then the other part of this contest, the youth focus on wildlife habitat, and they individually and within a team have a scenario and an actual piece of land. They walk the land and they develop a wildlife management plan for that piece of land according to that scenario. So they look at the ecoregion, they look at the species, they look at land management and wildlife management practices. And at the state contest, they've been practicing all year with a coach, and at the state contest, the Saturday, they will be evaluating and testing their skills. And there's a national component to this piece for the top winning team. So we're really excited about this program. It's brand new to Minnesota 4-H. It's been around for a little bit, but new to us. And then the other program, and Rose is going to talk a lot more about this one, is our Outdoor Wilderness Leadership and Service. This one started in 2019, and we're super excited about our third cohort of youth going through this program.
Yes, like Nicole said, this was just also a recently started program, and we have our third round of youth going. I was part of the second one, and I'm on my second year of OWLS because there's 2 different years that we'll get into, and each year you do a different task. So OWLS stands for Outdoor Wilderness Leadership and Service, where you focus on your wilderness leadership opportunities and then also service projects that you're able to do in your communities and then also other areas around the state. So there's a few different objectives in OWLS. The first one is to deepen your knowledge in an area of interest. This focuses on the first year where we have mini ed sessions where you're able to join, like that you'll be a part of, and then you'll learn about specific things. You get to pick your category and then learn about it. I'll discuss more on the next slide. And then number 2 is explore career opportunities in the outdoor industry. We have retreats throughout the 2 different years, and then in those opportunities, we're able to meet different people that have to do with wilderness and just outdoor careers and get to see what we're able to do in the future if that's something that we would like to do, or just learn more about them so we have that information. A third objective is the learn outdoor leadership and wilderness skills. That's something we focus on on our Boundary Waters trip, and we'll kind of go more into that. But we do basic learning before that. I am doing the Boundary Waters trip on my second year. It kind of flips. And so our first year, we focused on the whole outdoor leadership and learning that stuff. And then the fourth task is being able to plan and lead conservation efforts. On the second year, we do conservation projects, which has a huge focus on the leading and kind of becoming a leader in that outdoor area. I'll discuss that once we get there. So, what do we do in the first year of OWLs? So, like I said, we have those three main categories. This year, we are focused on dragonflies, animal ID, and water quality. So, when we go to our retreats, a main focus on what we do those days is learn about it. When I was in it, mine was about animal habitats. So, I learned we focused mainly on deer and kind of what deer, their habitats were like. We played a game, it was called Oh Deer. And it kind of taught us about the food, water, shelter, and basically you had one set that were deer, one set that was the other thing, like the water, food, and shelter, and then you kind of go back and forth. And so if you didn't have a match, then the deer and died in a way, and then it became a natural resource. So you kind of learned about the natural resource product of it. And then also we would add a hunter if you had enough people, and the hunter would shoot a deer on its way to the resource. So it kind of teaches you a little bit about the life cycle of animals just through a simple little game. And then in that game, you can also get data. We collected the data and then kind of saw the different areas. And there's different areas where you can also add, like if a storm came through and destroyed stuff and other things like that. And then there's outdoor skills, which is the wilderness first aid, outdoor cooking, compass and GPS, camping, canoeing, backpacking, and more. So the wilderness first aid we talk about at those retreats, so kind of just the basics and safety about what we should do. Outdoor cooking, we have made s'mores and stuff and just kind of that kind of outdoor cooking stuff. And then we also got a packet with a bunch of different outdoor cooking things that we can like read through, and different foods you can make just on a campfire or when you're outdoors. We learn how to use a compass and a GPS if you're outside or ever want to do anything like that. And then the camping, canoeing, and backpacking have a lot to do with the Boundary Waters trip. And then we focus a lot on leave no trace and tread lightly. What that means basically is if you go out and you're in the wild or you're going to a state park or somewhere like that, you don't want to make a huge trace on where you are. So it's like if you're going for a hike, don't go off trail if you're at a park because you don't want to destroy what is there. And then also if you ever see trash or anything, pick it up because it's not supposed to be there and it could be affecting the environment. And then also don't pick flowers or don't pick leaves up or do that kind of stuff because those are things you might not realize are valuable to the environment but are valuable to animals that are there, and then also just sustaining the entire environment. So another part is team building and reflection activities. During those retreats, we're able to have time as a team, and then we get to do different activities. Like I mentioned, that game was kind of a team building game as well, where we got to kind of know everyone. And then we're able to play games when we have breaks. And then at the end of the nights and then at end of activities, we do reflection, talking about what we liked, kind of what we learned in those activities and kind of what can go better. Just reflecting on what we learned. And then the Boundary Waters trip, like I mentioned, it is a 4-day adventure where we do a canoeing trip. So we're up there, we work on the give me a second. We work on the hiking, and that kind of stuff, like I mentioned earlier. And we also work on the compasses. We're able to do that. And then we learn how to canoe. We set up tents. We do the tent. We learn how to tent, I guess. And then also stay up there for the 4 days. We do have someone that goes with us and kind of helps us throughout the entire way. And then, so what do we do on year 2? Year 2 is a main focus on our conservation project. So you get to pick a conservation project yourself. You can do it as small or as big as you want. It all depends on how much time you want to put into it, but it has to be something to do with conservation. So we have the team and adults that are helping us come up with those conservation projects, and then they also help us get to our end goal or where we want to go. Those mini grants that we have available to us to apply for help us get that money to do our conservation project. Usually they don't cost too much, so those mini grants help enough where they pay for what we need to do. And like I said, each kid gets to pick what they do. I'm pretty sure someone the first year did one on bees where they focused on the bee population. And then I believe someone else did one on butterflies, if I'm correct, where they just kind of talked about that stuff. So you don't have to do it specifically on animals or insects. You can do it on just anything in the environment. Like one I was thinking about doing is focusing on like parks that they have and trails and stuff. I go to Whitewater a lot, so they have wild parsnip and stinging nettle, which are two not great things if you touch. They sting really badly. So making signs, because wild parsnip has a look-alike, which is golden Alexandria. So if you make, I know they have one sign, but just making extra signs kind of showing the difference between the two, and just so you kind of know, because there is big differences, but it's hard to tell when you don't know what they are. And then stinging nettle, we have a camp out at Whitewater and someone gets some stinging nettle every year. So it's just kind of showing what to look for when you are looking for stinging nettle, just so you aren't affected by it. And then those you get to implement at a local level or at a state level, depending how far you want to go with your conservation project. And then just so you know, OWLS is a program for kids in 6th through 11th grade, and it is a 2-year commitment.
Thank you, Rosa. Rosa is one of our camp counselors also at Whitewater State Park, and so she has firsthand knowledge of those stinging nettles. I do remember that. So thank you, Rosa. One of the other components we have is fishing. We are in love with the Min Aqua program from the DNR, so we use a lot of those resources and lesson plans for our fishing project. We also have an ice fishing project, and I'm going to show you where those lessons and curriculum are posted publicly. And we are dabbling, as I'm sitting down here in southeast Minnesota, the fly fishing area of Minnesota. We are working on developing and compiling from other states fly fishing lesson plans for adult leaders and clubs and or youth, individual youth, to explore a little bit more about fly fishing. So that's our fishing program. We're really working on some of those pieces for our youth. And then the outdoor skills. Rosa, you explained a little bit about these. Do you want to explain a little bit more?
Sure. Like I said, there's kind of different opportunities to learn about all of these. It's not all just one set opportunity. So wilderness and first aid, you kind of just learn throughout. At camp, I know a huge thing is we do a hiking opportunity, and then we also show them how to make little first aid kits to bring out with them and what to do when they are going out in the wilderness, to let someone know, and just basic safety facts like that. Outdoor cooking and compass, I'll go a little in. So we have a invitational shoot at Alexandria every year, and two things that we like to incorporate are the outdoor cooking and the compass. So for the outdoor cooking on the Sunday of the invitational, we have an outdoor cooking. So if it's something you've never done or something you're interested in, I know I've gone a couple times and watched them, and they've offered, like, if I wanted to help or just to learn or get into it, there's volunteers that are willing to help you get into outdoor cooking if that's something you want to do. And then they have like a little it's not really a competition, just something where you can test the food and see what the different people have made. And if you want the recipe, they're more than willing to give it to you, so you can kind of learn how to do that outdoor cooking if it's something you're interested in. And then Compass and GPS, we have a skillathon where you're able to test your knowledge kind of on different wildlife things, with animals, trees. I know one year I did it, they had like a poster with ducks and different birds, and you labeled and named the different birds. This past year, I did one which was focused on trees. So you looked at the different trees and you labeled the trees on what kinds they were. And then there's usually a little packet just with basic wildlife information, kind of a quiz that you do. And then there's just part of the component is also using a compass. If you don't know how to use a compass, they'll teach you, and then you get to go through a course and then mark down, because there's a huge, basically a field with flags, and you mark down what flags you go to, and then it's just kind of a fun little thing you can do up there to learn more, and then you get a score at the end, and some people do it for the score, but most people just do it for fun to learn that extra information. And then another little fun bonus thing that we do there is wildlife calling. So you can research an animal, and then also you can use a call, or you can do your own call depending on how you want to do it. You can get all dressed up for it, and then you do the call and then just talk a little bit about the animal. So that's kind of a fun little thing that we also do there. And then the camping, canoeing, backpacking, and hiking also kind of have to do with the boundary waters is what I'm doing, but we have different opportunities where we have camps, and a lot of those focus on the hiking and other different activities you can do.
So a little side note, our program really started out with shooting sports and wildlife only since 1985. And over the last 4 or 5 years, we really wanted to build a all-encompassing outdoor exploration program. So hopefully as you have been with us and looking through these and the things that we're offering, we're really just wanting to, any youth interested in the outdoors, that there's an entry point somewhere, somehow for them to get those skills, work with the youth adult partnerships with our adult volunteers, our experts, or as Rosa says, with the owls, we bring in career, experts that are in a professional or it's a passion of theirs, and they talk about their skill set, and just exposing the youth to all realms of the outdoor industry and outdoor education. So one of the really cool things that have just happened over the last year is the Extension Center for Youth Development has developed this curriculum library, which is a public site. You could go on it right now, and not only outdoor adventures, but you're going to see some of the other project areas within the 4-H program and lesson plans that have either been shared from it could have been other educators from different states or developed within ourselves. And there are plenty and plenty of opportunities if you're a teacher out there, if you're a parent. These are meant for youth, K through, could be high school. They might need to be a little adapted for some of the older youth. But as you can see, cross country, orienteering, all of that Rosa was talking about, our lesson plans for GPS and orienteering and maps are on there. Snowshoeing kind of has a winter type of feel. We created this during the winter, so that's where some of those things are on there. We have an outdoor outdoor cooking curriculum that is not able to be posted, but if you're interested, it's a New York 4-H resource, and I would love to share it with you. You could just email me and I can share that with you. It has great, amazing recipes, plus how to, with Leave No Trace, how do you build a campfire within limits? What are the different type of campfires? What are the different types of cooking? And then our brand new, as of last week, we have an outdoor skills day camp. This is a session plan that's available for anyone to use. It covers 5 different days. And they have fishing, camping, water quality, hiking, and there's one more. I just totally blanked on my mind, but it is out there for you to use, and there are different activity guides, so you could use different snippets of it, or if you are in an organization that does day camps, feel free to use that as an actual day camp. So I wanted to share this with you because this is one way for us as extension educators to share what we're doing, developing for our youth, for others in the public to use.
We have a podcast. Minnesota 4-H has a podcast that we started, I think, last year, that we talk about different things going on throughout Minnesota 4-H and what youth can get involved in. So the specific episode posted is the one on outdoor adventures, which just talks a little bit more about what we do and kind of a recap of what we talked about today, and then also last week at the last webinar. We also have one on ambassadors, which talks a little bit about just becoming a shooting sports ambassador, if that was something you're interested in.
Wonderful. And Rosa, did not mention, she's also humble, as Katrien was last week. Not only is she a camp counselor for our region, a state shooting sports and wildlife ambassador, and a national trained ambassador, she is one of our overall Minnesota 4-H state ambassadors. And so she, in that dual role, was able to share her passion for our outdoor adventure programs in this podcast. So she is one busy youth and representing our program and the outdoors very, very well. So if you want to learn more, again, these are going to go into the chat. Our overall outdoor adventures program, that is that website. And then our shooting sports and wildlife, that is another website that we have. And we thank you so much for this time to share our excitement about our program. That is my email right there. If you're interested in joining 4-H, there is another link for you. You can also email me or contact your local extension office, and they will help you with the different programs and projects that are available and how to join Minnesota 4-H. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very informative. Any of our audience out there that might have kids, you know, and you're not quite sure how to get them started in the outdoors, 4-H is going to be a phenomenal way for you to work with your child in the 4-H programs and get them out shooting, fishing, hunting, ATVing, whatever. So we're waiting for some questions to roll in, and your list of library items. I was going to jot those down. Those would be for anybody to pick up and use, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. They're on the public portion of the Extension Center for Youth Development website, so anyone can pick it up and use it.
We have a question from Jeff. He says, great job. How does Rosa plan to use her wonderful experience in the future, and what plans for education or a career?
Yeah, so well, first of all, thank you. So what I plan to use it on, basically something that I've learned in 4-H is I kind of want to get back into the youth development and the whole curriculum part of things. I like going I like helping youth and teaching youth about stuff. That's what the leadership opportunities has taught me a lot. So I want to come back into that and be able to teach youth about these different opportunities. I like to teach youth about. I know a big category of mine is archery. I don't. I guess I never discussed that, but I'm a huge person in archery. So I like to teach youth. I am a youth instructor for that. So I teach kids about archery, get them into archery, and then help them get all set up. And then what are my plans for education? I kind of talked about that a little bit. I plan to go for um, youth education and then with youth education go into this, but yeah.
You know, outdoor ed has been a huge area across the country. Um, Meeting with some of the different folks, you know, it's a lifetime activity. And if we can get someone started at 8 years old, 6 years old, it's a potential they're going to continue it on far through, you know, adulthood even. And that's how the next generation gets introduced, because there was an adult that learned an outdoor ed program, and now they're got their own family or possibly even grandkids down the road, and they're going to introduce those kids too. So
I
I'm
will
glad you
say
just mentioned
too.
that, Craig, too, with
Sorry.
having the grandkids. That's a great, because Nicole mentioned some of those summer camps and some of the opportunities for 4-H, but that's an awesome idea to have, you know, your grandkids over for a week or something and have them go to 4-H camps. So I know my parents down in Red Wing do that a little bit with our kids and some of the programs down there. So super cool to meet new kids, and it's a great opportunity to learn something that maybe parents don't have time to run their kids to all the time. So
right.
sorry for cutting you off there, Rosa.
No, you're good. And another thing too, like I started archery when I was younger because I wanted a bow, and then that's honestly how I got into hunting was because I started 4-H. And then I was like, well, archery isn't that bad. Maybe I'll try that other, the other kind of stuff. And so that's what got me into hunting because my dad hadn't hunted since he was little. And so I asked him, and he's like, I guess I'll get back into it. So now he's back in the hunting after probably 40 years. My dad's older, but he's back into the hunting after 40 years. He enjoys it. So it's like, it's not even just a me thing. It gets the adults that might have stopped it because they got busy in life back into things because their
Yep.
kids wanted to get into it. So it kind of gives that opportunity as well.
In the R3 world, we call that reactivation. So nice job.
Nice.
We got another question here. If an adult never worked or volunteered with 4-H before, what would you suggest they do to get engaged in volunteering with 4-H?
Absolutely. I think Rosa was just alluding to that too, is that not only, I mean, this is a youth program, but it's also a volunteer program. And so we have adults from all all ages, all walks of life that come and volunteer to share their passions with the youth. And again, my world is the outdoor adventures world, and there's many entry points for adults. We have, as explained last week with the shooting sports and wildlife, we have all the shooting disciplines. If that is a passion of yours, connect with me. I think that would be one of the main places to start. Connect with me or your local extension office and say, I'd like to volunteer. We provide training. There is some online training that we ask you to do, but there's additional training throughout the year. Like I said, the shooting sports and wildlife training. I have many entry points into each of these programs that we just explained. That is, if there is just one particular place that you'd like to volunteer on a state level with my work, we'd love to have you. This wildlife education program, WEP, we're looking for people who are passionate about wildlife management and help us teach the youth and the coaches to teach each other. So there's just all these different entry points. ATV Safety, we have that certification. So start with me, start with your local extension program, voice what you're interested in, and we'll put you in the right place, and make sure that you're trained and getting what you need as a volunteer.
So much of the outdoor ed stuff that I've been involved with has been stuff that I was personally interested in. And when I was teaching shooting sports or teaching fishing or whatever it might have been, it wasn't a big stretch. And all of us have those experiences that we can call upon and share that knowledge with someone new. It's very rewarding work, you know. So if you got a chance to volunteer, give Nicole a call and volunteer in your local area. You'll find it very rewarding work. Yeah. I got a question from Marvin, and if you're asking me, Marvin, this is just a virtual background that I've got put up. So, anyway, I don't see any other questions right now, but Nicole had her contact list up. You can go back on the recording by Monday and go through it, get her contact again if you didn't get a chance to jot it down.
I'll put it in the chat right now.
Okay. Jesse asked a question here.
That went to you privately. I'm sorry, Craig or Benji, if you could put that out to everyone.
Must have went to Benji.
Okay.
Jesse wants to know, it says, thank you for your presentation. I have a 9-year-old daughter in Dakota County. I just checked the website and downloaded the Dakota County 4-H clubs. And the question I have is, are they all different? Do I need to contact each one of them to find a good fit for my daughter? Thank you. So I think she's talking about the county program.
Right. So if you're interested in outdoor adventures or the shooting sports, Dakota actually has a very fine active shooting sports program. Many times those are a project area where youth from different clubs come together, and it's it's different in each local program, county program. So if you wanted to connect with me first, I will connect you with that program leader and that staff directly, and they can talk through with you on what are your interests. And some of the clubs do have more of a interest, like there could be a horse club, there could be a shooting sports club, there could be more that are animal science, there are STEM clubs. So instead of going through all of those, connect with me or the local staff, and they will let you know what you're interested in, which is the best club. And it could be like location too, like where you live. That might be the best one for you too.
Sounds good. We've got a question. They want to know if you can put the YouTube link up, Benji, and you'll put that in the chat for us.
I believe if I think Maverick, I believe it's the 4-H ATV video you're talking about, the YouTube link, and that is I believe it's the very first one we put in there. So I can repost that also though. So
If you're talking about the rebroadcast of the 57 episodes we've done now, if you go to the DNR website and just search for outdoor skills and stewardship, it'll take you to a link to our page, and they have the current list up, and they also have the past episodes, so you can go back and choose which episode you'd like to watch. They're kind of listed by species or activity, and you can get a chance to watch some of those too. Well, I don't see any new questions coming in. I think we're going to go ahead and call it for today. There's been a lot of information that they covered, give you guys a chance to go home and digest what we talked about. And if you're interested in signing up, give Nicole a call and she'll help direct you into a program that's going to fit your need and your neighborhood. So Benji, I'll have you take us back to the green room.
Thank you.
Thank you.